Today on the Paranormal Evidence Room, a man is talking, but he claims it's not his voice. Does the K2 meter measure up as a valid piece of ghost hunting equipment? And we put Randonautica under the microscope. Is this app legit, or is it just a game of chance?
Hi everybody, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Linda.
And welcome to the Paranormal Evidence Room. We're going to be taking a look at some possible evidence of paranormal activity and taking this evidence under the microscope. Now this first clip we have is from a gentleman, and we're going to be focusing on the audio from this clip. Now let me give you a little bit about the backstory. This gentleman worked a night shift as a security guard at a company that is now on the grounds of what used to be an old plantation home.
Oh, wow.
And apparently the grounds were haunted. It started with him hearing voices and seeing some strange things throughout the site at night while he was at work. And then the spirit of his friend who had passed away ended up coming to him. And he would have full-on conversations with this spirit. Well, one night he's sitting there at work, and like I said, he was a security guard working the night shift.
Right.
And he said it felt like something was coming into him, and he started coughing. He felt like something was trying to come up out of his throat. And these words came through him that were not generated by him.
Right.
He said he had no control over these words that were coming out of him. This was a sensation that he had never experienced before.
Right.
Well, as time went on, the night that he recorded this clip, he started feeling this sensation again.
Oh,
so
wow.
he grabbed his phone not to so much get video, but just to record the audio of the voice that was coming through him.
Oh, okay.
Now, we're going to go ahead and play this audio clip right now. And it's going to be in the form of a video. But like I said, the video, there's not much to see. You're listening to the audio. So when listening to this clip, I definitely hear some words here.
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Was there anything that you were able to pull from this audio clip?
There was not a whole lot. It was really quiet, kind of muffled speech, and I have to say that the only word that I was able to draw from it sounded like an English word. We have to consider that this could be something in another language, of course, but it sounded like it said exercise.
Yes. I heard that too, and after that it almost sounded like something to the effect of like exercise your butt or something
Really?
like that.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
what I heard, but this is the kind of thing where several people can listen to it,
Right.
and each person can hear a different thing.
Right, right.
Would you consider this evidence of the paranormal? Would you consider this something that cannot be explained?
No.
Why not?
Because there has been often times where I've heard of people, like laying in bed or at night, speaking while they're asleep. If you can say comprehensible sentences in your sleep, you can do it in any state. And you don't know what situation this man was in, whether he was a security guard late at night and he could have been in one of those sleep states that is kind of halfway between sleep and halfway between being awake.
Now, I got to tell you, this clip, though, okay, this clip didn't happen while he was at work. The first time happened at work.
Right.
This was the second time, and this happened while he was at home. And let me just add a little more to the backstory here of this clip, okay? So he felt this sensation coming on,
Right.
grabbed the phone to record. His daughter was present.
Yes.
And his daughter told him it looked like something was pulling on his foot while he was doing it, like something was pulling him
Really?
in a certain direction.
I would definitely say this is one of those things that we need to find out a little bit more about. And the reason I say that is because you never know when it comes to something demonic. And that's what it sounds like this possibly could be, is something demonic, something pretending to be his deceased friend, something coming through as his deceased friend. But at the same time, we don't know the entirety of the situation. And whether, I don't know in what situation he was actually sitting there saying these things, these words were coming out of him. There's many reasons why somebody can actually utter words that they don't necessarily have a consciousness of uttering, and I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning would be for him saying something like that, but there are reasonable explanations, logical explanations for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There could be. And this is the kind of situation where we have all the information we're going to get.
Right.
This is not a place that we're going out to investigate.
Yes.
It's not a place that he wants an investigation. This is something that has happened 2 times.
Yes.
The first time he was at work. The second time is the clip that you heard. His daughter was present. He recorded it. Now, that being said, of course, without us being there,
Right.
there's a lot of questions that are left open.
There are, yes.
There really are. There really are. Now, if this indeed were the circumstances under what the gentleman said, would you think that there would be anything, is there anything that could possibly affect him where he could be conscious, awake, saying these words, but doesn't feel that they're coming from him?
Well, of course, yes. I mean, there's many reasons. It could simply be a human spirit that comes through. There's many spiritual explanations for this. And one of those would be that the human spirit is actually trying to communicate with him in some way. If this man was some sort of medium and didn't actually realize what his spiritual gifts were.
Right.
There's a lot of people who are mediums out there who don't necessarily know that they're mediums,
Right.
And this is something that is very, very insistent on trying to get its message across, then it might find some sort of way like this to be able to communicate with them. On the converse, like I said, the whole idea of it being something demonic, which is a little more scary, a little more, makes you kind of creeped out. But the fact that he felt like something was trying to come into him at the same time that he's sort of got this strange feeling in his throat, like something was coming up his throat, is something that would make me a little bit nervous about the situation. Like
Right.
that really kind of gives me a little bit of pause, I guess.
Because some could say, hey, you know what, you're just waking up out of a sleep. You're going to babble. You could be conscious enough to grab your phone and say, let me
Right.
record this. But at the same time, the sleep babble could be coming through you.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of like the point people are at when they're being ridden by the witch.
Right.
Per se.
That's what yeah.
But, like I said, at the same time, this could be, I know I've woken up with like cramps before.
Right.
You know what I mean? Cramps in my leg or
Yeah.
a Charlie horse. And you jump out of bed and I'm wide awake.
Absolutely.
So if this guy had that sensation where this thing was attacking him,
Yes.
and he jumped
Yeah.
up, was wide awake, that's something.
It is.
It's something. It's something interesting. It really is here.
Right.
And the thing is too with this clip, the camera was recording. This is an over 2-minute clip. So it was recording for some time before the talking even started.
Right. Right.
So something to consider.
Yes.
It really is. Now, let's take a look at our next possible evidence of paranormal activity. And for this segment, we're going to be looking at a device that is used in paranormal investigation. You've seen it on TV shows. You've seen it on our investigations.
Absolutely.
It's the K2 meter.
Yes.
Now, I, for one, am skeptical of any
Yeah.
piece of equipment that is made and marketed for ghost hunting.
Right.
Because I think if they kind of make this equipment to where it's going to give you readings, people are going to say, wow, this is amazing, you got to try it, and
Right.
they're going to get some sales.
Absolutely.
And I got to say, the K2 meter, it does work. You take it, you put it up to an appliance, it will light up.
Yeah.
The K2 meter, if you hold it next to a tri-field meter, which is a legit electrician's device that we use and we sometimes compare it to,
Yeah.
the sensitivity is a lot higher. The milligauss reading that you are getting on the K2 meter is not actually that high.
Right.
The label is wrong on the K2 meter, I will tell you right now.
Yes,
The label is
absolutely.
wrong.
Yeah.
When you're getting 2 milligauss on the K2 meter, you are not getting hardly anything on the
On the
tri-field meter.
tri-field, right.
Okay?
Yes.
So the label's off. And perhaps that's something they did to make it
On
more
purpose.
appealing to ghost hunters. Because, hey, I'm getting this extremely high reading right here. Well,
Right.
the K2 meter is geared to be more sensitive.
It is. It definitely is. And I think it's one of those things that is really dazzling because of all of the different colored lights that come on. Somebody whoever created this thing was really thinking. They really, it was ingenious the way they developed this thing, that it's got this visual sort of reference here that you're looking at. You've got all these different colored lights, and that in and of itself is like, oh wow.
Yeah.
When it lights up, you're like, oh, something's communicating,
Yeah.
But at the same time, because of the sensitivity levels of it, that's another whole factor involved there.
And let's be honest, as ghost hunters, we want to have equipment. We want to have stuff that looks cool. Like, hey,
Yes.
you can look at me holding this and tell I'm a ghost hunter.
Right.
Right? It's cool.
Right.
It is. It's kind of exciting.
It is.
The K2 meter, light it up to orange, light it up to red.
Right.
Let us know that you're here, you know?
Yes.
Can you light it up all the way? Different lights you can ask the spirits to manipulate it to.
Yeah.
Can spirits manipulate electromagnetic fields? It's widely accepted in the paranormal field that they can.
Yeah.
Is that a fact? No.
No.
No, it's not a fact.
No.
And I don't care what anybody says, it is not a fact.
No.
Because the scientific community has not accepted that spirits exist.
Exactly.
So for this to be a fact, the scientific community would have to say it is a fact that spirits exist.
Right.
Okay?
That's exactly right.
That being said, we do use both of them side by side.
We do.
Because we want to compare our results. We really do. And the K2 meter being more sensitive, perhaps it can pick something up. And the K2 meter has gone off when the tri-field meter has not.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So, to make matters a little more interesting, we get a call out in Roanoke that somebody has what sounds like everything's pointing to ghost cat.
Ghost cat.
Okay. Now, I'm going to show you a little video clip right here of the K2 meter in action at this investigation, and then we're going to discuss it. Here, I just had another random spike. And it's interesting because right here, that's gone. Kitty. Now notice with this video, the first clip is during our baseline sweep.
Right.
Now, the K2 meter did not go off during the baseline sweep other than in normal places around appliances and electrical outlets and such.
Yeah.
But when I go near the foot of that bed, it spikes. Okay? During the baseline sweep. Now, it didn't spike again throughout the whole house.
Right.
We set it on the foot of that bed. We looked under the bed, on top of the bed. There's there's nothing that's giving off an EMF field.
Exactly,
okay?
yes.
During our whole spirit box session,
nothing.
This thing sitting on the foot of the bed did not go off. I walk in there towards the end of the investigation, and I jingle this bell that's in this plastic cat toy ball.
Yeah, the cat toy.
And the thing lights up.
Yes.
Okay? Now, I can tell you jingling the bell did not make it light up because I jingled the bell in front of it all over the place. I took it out in the living room and I jingled the bell in front of it just to show the client, look, this doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything.
Nothing. It is almost like there was a cat in this place. And I say it like this because you picture a cat, a living cat being in a house.
Yes.
Strangers come in. This cat, the lady said that whatever this thing is comes up from the foot of the bed.
Right.
Okay? It climbs into bed with her, and not like a person, but like a small animal, she said. It messes with her feet.
Yeah.
So she put on these like fluffy socks and it started like clawing at the socks.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So various things from her reports, and this will be available as we'll show this whole video, this investigation at a future date.
Right.
But her reports led us to believe that this was a cat. It was the actions that a cat would take.
Yes.
So going back, you think about a normal cat. If I walk into the house and there's a cat that lives in this house and that cat is laying on the foot of the bed.
Yes.
When I walk in there, if I put this K2 meter up to a living cat, it may look at it for a second and then it's like stranger danger and jets out of there, right? And that cat lies low and watches me from a distance.
Yeah.
It's some cats. We've been in a lot of houses. And these cats, sometimes it takes them a while to warm up.
Right.
So then the cat gets a little more curious. Like, okay, these people have been here for a little bit.
Yeah.
They're a little more familiar. Maybe I can come out.
Yeah.
And then I got this cat toy. I'm like, here you go, girl. And I jingle the bell.
Yeah.
And the cat comes running up like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
That's almost like what happened right here.
Exactly.
I walk in during the baseline sweep. Boom, it spikes. The cat's at the foot of the bed laying there.
Right.
It's gone for the rest of the night. Warms up to us. I jingle that bell and the cat's like, oh, time to play. Comes out.
Exactly.
Can you think of another reason that this K2 meter would have gone off? At these given times.
No. And the reason I say that is because, of course, we know that cell phones will set off the K2 meter. That's one of the known things, right?
Right.
The cell phone was in the same place, in the same position, during the baseline sweeps, during the entire investigation, right? All the way through the end. Now, if the K2 meter was going to be set off by your cell phone, the K2 meter would have been going off the entire time if it was because of a cell phone. If there were any other electrical appliances or anything else in the area that could have possibly been setting this thing off. It would have been setting it off the entire time. Of course, unless it's something like a microwave. If they decided to run the microwave and heat up some,
which they didn't,
a TV
because
dinner,
we know exactly where they were during the course of this investigation.
Exactly, right. Then, there's no reason why I can find that this K2 meter would have gone off at that exact moment, at the very beginning during the baseline sweeps, and then at the very end. It just doesn't seem to make any sense.
It is interesting.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say this is hard evidence, but I'm going to say this is something possible right here. This is definitely something possible.
Definitely interesting.
So for the third segment and the last final segment, let's save the best or worst for last, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool because it's a fun thing. Everybody is getting into Randonautica. There's a lot of randonauts out there.
Yes.
And this is an app that's pretty cool because you think of something that you may want to go. Some people go, I've talked to, they say, I don't even think of something, and I start the app.
Right.
And you start the app, okay? You push for it to go to the location or to drop the pin, and it drops a pin at a random location.
Yeah.
And you can put this into Google Maps, and you go out to this location.
Yeah.
And go to where the pin was.
Yeah.
People are finding amazing things. Some people are finding things of value.
Yeah.
Some people are finding things that I wouldn't want to find, like dead bodies.
Yeah. Or ghosts. Some guy found some paranormal activity.
He found paranormal activity.
Yeah.
And some people are just finding a place that has some kind of a meaning to them.
Right.
So we took this app. And we experimented with it a couple times, a couple different places. But when we actually video recorded it, we went down to Yorktown, the most haunted town
in Virginia.
It's most haunted. Can you say that, or is it the hauntedest? Is it the hauntedest?
No, the most haunted.
The most haunted town in Virginia is Yorktown.
Right.
Hands down. People will tell you otherwise. I will tell you Yorktown.
Yeah.
Okay. We took this app down there, and we tried to experiment with it.
We did, yeah.
Okay. Now, can you tell us a little more, digging into the science of Randonautica? How does this thing work?
Well, it's very technical. It's almost so technical that it's beyond my comprehension. But from what I gather from this, okay, there is this sort of database, or there is this random number generator that's somewhere out in Australia, okay? We don't know where. And it uses EMFs to actually generate these random numbers. The random numbers actually translate into coordinates in your area. Now you can set a radius in this app. You can set it for a smaller radius or a larger radius, and it's going to find like places in that area, in that radius, that are high concentrations of these markers that they put all over the earth, right? Or low concentrations of these markers. You can choose different ways of searching. You can either search for places that have a high concentration or a low concentration of these markers, right? And it's strange because the way they generate these numbers and everything, I mean, it gets into this whole mathematical thing, and I'm just not a mathematical person per se, but it's pretty fascinating the way they have developed this app, that it generates these numbers, that it should translate those into coordinates, into GPS coordinates, and then sort of pulls out this location for you, and sends you there. And that's what I find interesting about this app, is that it's almost like a treasure hunt, or you're just seeking something. You don't know what it is. You don't know what you're going to find at the end of this little voyage that you're taking. That's what's the most interesting thing.
It will take you to a place. Yeah. Well, not necessarily. I don't mean like that. I mean, a place that you wouldn't normally go to. Take for example, the first time we tried it, we were driving through Gordonsville, and we
Right.
pull over and say, hey, let's just activate this real quick and take
Yeah,
us to an
see what it
abandoned
does.
house. And
Yeah.
it took us down some roads that we never would have otherwise explored.
No, that's absolutely true. And I love exploring.
Yes,
I
me
really
too.
am an explorer. I love to go out and see places that I've never seen and just, see what's out there.
Me too. So here's a few clips from our experience in Yorktown. Okay, now I'll play a few clips here of interest.
Yes.
And then in the next clip, what I tried to do was have Linda think of a place.
Right, right.
And I generated the point.
Uh-huh.
Here it is.
We could think paranormal.
Okay.
Just think paranormal, broad paranormal.
Broad paranormal. Okay, we'll try that. Something
So
paranormal.
any anomaly. Just take us to some anomaly.
Right.
Point is on the water. What point on the water is it taking us to now? Is that down by the waterfront?
It is. It's taking us right off the point of that beach right there.
All right, let's plot it.
Okay.
Recording?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do is I brought this parabolic dish. And we're going to head out here and just point this in the direction to see if we pick up any anomalies. One thing with the York River, there's some 26 ships that are sunk out here. If we look right behind us here is the Duke of York Hotel, okay? I will tell you something interesting. I did an interview with a woman here. She worked at the hotel, and it was the off season, as it is now. And she had come out in front of the hotel, and she said it was a foggy night. And there was fog all over the river. And she said, I saw what looked like a ship. And at first I thought it was just something in the fog. You know what I mean? I thought it was just kind of when you see an animal in the clouds or something like that. But she said, I looked and this ship came rolling out of this fog. And she said, I could see the detail in this ship. It was clearly a big British galleon, as she described it. Cannons out the side and everything. She said as quickly as it came out of the fog, it went into another fog and it was gone. What's interesting is this is the point right here. She was standing right here and she saw that ship right out in this area of the river. So this is a place where an anomaly does happen. Once again, it's hard to go anywhere in Yorktown where an anomaly hasn't happened, though. So for this one, let's think of a place in Yorktown that played a key role in the victory.
Right. We're talking about like the siege of Yorktown,
Yep.
Revolutionary War. Okay.
Absolutely.
A very significant point.
A very significant point in the Battle of Yorktown.
Right. Okay. Battle of Yorktown.
Point is on the water.
Well, it actually is.
Right, just where we just came from almost, huh?
No, it's actually at a very significant point. If you look, this is the bridge
The Coleman
that
Bridge,
we were just
right?
looking at. That's the
Yeah.
Coleman Bridge. Okay. This is also the point, the spit of land right here, this little bump right there, is the little point of land where Cornwallis attempted to cross the river over to Gloucester Point, which is up here, with his men on that night. He was trying to escape to
Yes,
the
right.
rest of his men at Gloucester. This is the exact point where they got to about midway across the river when that freak storm kicked up and overturned all of their little man-made boats and tossed, I've heard, thousands of men into the water to their deaths.
Okay, we're trying out this Randonautica app. We've been to several places here in Yorktown. What I'm going to do is demonstrate how I believe this Randonautica app can generate points. Now, keep in mind, it didn't generate a point that was significant, a significant place to Linda.
Right.
Okay? But it did generate some points that we could say, hey, this was a key point in the war.
Exactly.
Hey, this was a point where paranormal activity has occurred. But a couple of times it didn't as well.
Right.
This time, Linda's going to think of a place. Okay, she's going to think of what she wants to find. And I'm going to generate the point up here in my head. So Linda, if you will, go ahead and get that point in your mind. Let me know when that point is in your mind, and I will let you know, or let me know when that interest is in your mind, and I will let you know what point we are going to.
Okay, now I'm thinking that I'm going to have to think of somewhere that is not a place where you would automatically think of too. Because see, I'm thinking that there's a couple of places that if I think of these places, you would automatically...
Right, but keep in mind, you don't
you.
have to think about paranormal activity.
Right, I'm not, yeah.
You can think about anything, a place that's significant to you, paranormal activity, a place that's significant to the war, a place where a cannonball might be found. You know, anything you want. And I will generate that point.
Okay, I've got a place in mind. I've got a thing, an event in mind.
Okay. I've generated the point. It's in MapQuest. Here we go. So the place I brought us to is right here at the top of the Great Valley Road, right where it intersects with Main Street, and we have the Nelson House and the Sessions House. I'm going to have to ask Linda to reveal at this point what she thought of when I generated my point of interest.
It was definitely not this location. The location that I was thinking of, or the event I should say that I was thinking of, was right behind the Victory Monument, which is off to my right, Jeff's left. And back there was this giant old oak tree. So huge and so old that the branches, the lowest level of branches, almost touch the ground. While he was giving a ghost tour at one point, I started to walk back to that tree thinking that that would be a really cool idea to sit underneath the tree and wait for him to finish. And as I approached this tree, something from underneath the tree started growling at me. And thinking that I was about to be attacked, of course, I quickly turned around and walked away. But this thing continued to growl at me for a moment or two as I was walking away. It scared me so badly that I would have to say that's probably the most scared I've ever been in my life, despite the fact that we go into creepy attics and basements and haunted places all the time. This was by far the scariest moment.
Now, I got to say, keep in mind, with this, Linda thought of a very specific event, a very specific place. And when we have thought of something very specific with Randonautica, it did not take us there. Like the most haunted place, talk to spirits, something that's, well, the significant with the war did bring up, but it will not take us to very specific points. Like if I were to say, hey, take us to the place where there's a cannonball on the side of a house, we could try that. We could try that right before we head up this road here, because that house is right up the top of this road. See if it takes us there. But even though she did think specific, if I were convinced that this does work, I could say that this point is significant to that event, because when that animal was startled by her, as much as she was by it, that's why it was growling, it retreated into the woods, came across the road, into the bamboo forest, and out here onto Valley Road. This is where that animal came to after Linda scared it.
We don't know that.
This is significant. Right, but that's what I'm
know that.
saying with this whole thing. You don't know.
That's a stretch.
You don't know, you know?
True.
You can speculate. So let's try being specific with the app.
Okay.
Let's try specifically asking, can you take us to where there's a cannonball in the side of a building?
Right.
Let's do it.
Okay. Here we are again in the app with our radius set. Same place, same basic radius size that it has been. And we're going to hit generate.
Cannonball in the side of a building.
Nope.
Where is it taking us to?
It took us right back to the same area where we had crossed that little entrance to the Colonial Parkway. It took us right here into the water just a little while ago.
An area where there's
No buildings.
no building.
So perhaps it could work better if you're not thinking of something very specific. Or it could be that people are simply trying to find something, and find when they get there, it may not be what they're trying to find, but they may be kind of applying their own significance to whatever they are finding.
In Yorktown,
Right.
it seemed like this was kind of 50-50, and you got to take into consideration here that Yorktown is a place where it's hard to go anywhere where it's not haunted.
Right.
It's
right.
hard to go anywhere where something significant to the Revolutionary War didn't happen.
Exactly.
But the point that it dropped in the middle of the York River, right where the Coleman Bridge was,
Yeah.
was interesting, because
Yeah.
if Cornwallis didn't pass there, or if he was able to pass there, I should say,
Yes.
he would have gotten away.
Potentially
He would have
gotten away.
gotten to his reinforcements, and
Yes.
the war may not have ended anytime
Yeah, would have
soon. It may not have
continued.
ended the way we wanted it to end.
Right.
So that was a significant point, because
It
he
was
made
very.
it across, or I'm sorry, he didn't make it across. 'Cause
Right.
like an act of God, the storm came up and flipped the boats over, and he stayed and surrendered
Yes.
in Yorktown.
Exactly.
He sent his lesser general out to surrender.
Yeah.
So that was a significant point in the war. Now, the point with you, where I dropped, my thing is this, right? With this app. If you think of a place that's significant to you, or you think kind of a general question,
right.
and Linda thought something very specific, and this goes to show you right here, I think. Linda thought of something very specific. The place where that stray coyote was growling at her in the dark corner of the Victory
If
Monument.
that's even what it was. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
hopefully it was a coyote.
Never saw anything.
Might have
but
been
yeah.
a demon, but probably
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
More likely a coyote. But she said, I took her to Valley Road. She said, I didn't think anything about Valley Road. I thought about this stray coyote in this specific
Right.
place. But I said, look, all right, if you're trying to reach for connections, you could do that. Because you could very well say, well, maybe it brought me here, even though I was thinking about that coyote up by the Victory Monument. If that coyote went into the corner in those woods and down through the bamboo forest, this might have been where it came out.
Yes.
That's why it brought me here. It brought me to the place where the coyote retreated to.
Right, yeah.
You know, so if you go out there with kind of even a specific idea,
Yeah.
it's so easy to reach and be able to find connections where there
Right.
really are none.
Right.
It really is.
Absolutely, yes.
It really is.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, in certain instances, you can say that that's a little too much of a reach. You know what I mean? Like, there's no evidence that we have that says that that coyote actually walked down that direction. But at the same time, I mean, we're talking about somebody generating an idea, you, for instance, generating a location from your head. Okay, what you know of Yorktown may have played into the idea of this. We're talking about a database. We're talking about some scientific, like basically a machine out in Australia that's generating these coordinates. Okay, this machine has no prior knowledge of Yorktown, has no idea about what lies in Yorktown, what's there. It never would have put you specifically on Valley Road. It may have put you, you know, like 50 feet off Valley Road in another direction. And so it's kind of interesting that it picks certain areas. And some of them, of course, are areas you can't even get to. It'll drop you down in the center of a person's house, a privately owned home, and you won't be able to access that location. So you kind of have to write it off and keep going, try it again, generate a new point.
So the EMF fields that it's picking up,
Mm-hmm.
are they out in Australia? Or are they over near where the pin that is
No,
dropping?
it's
Because there's
some
no
sort
way
of-
it's picking up EMFs from Yorktown all the way over in Australia.
No, it's some sort of like machine that they have that has EMFs in it, and it uses this vacuum. It's like the not like a Hoover vacuum kind of thing.
Right,
but
that's
like,
what I was thinking.
No, the you know, it like uses this sort of device that you know, reads these numbers off of these EMF fields. that are in a vacuum state, and generates these numbers. Like, this is totally,
I would
like I
think the
said,
machine
beyond me.
itself gave off EMFs.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. It's totally beyond me, but
It is. It is.
It's really technical.
It's deep. It is deep. You look into this
Yes.
stuff, it's pretty deep. But it's random point generator.
Right.
And what I'm saying though is, like, even if I'm here and someone in Australia is like, hey, I'm thinking of something, generate me a point within a mile of my radius, I throw a dart at the map and boom, I guarantee you I can make that connect somehow. Like, oh, there's an apple tree there. I used to like apples when I was a kid. That's why this place has significance to me.
Yeah. Well,
You know what I mean? Like, oh, there's grass there. My house used to have grass in the backyard. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was a
it could
kid.
be. Now, I have
People
to bring
will
up.
find connections. I will tell you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will find connections where there are none.
Right. Now, in that line of thought, I have to bring up the first location that we went to.
Yes, the
Okay.
most haunted place.
Right. That
in
was our
Yorktown.
question. That's what we were supposed to be thinking about, meditating on, was the most haunted location in Yorktown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, Jeff gives the ghost tours down in Yorktown.
Yes.
All right. I'm from Yorktown. So we both have an extensive knowledge of the town itself and of the haunts
Right.
of Yorktown.
The ghost tours have a lot of history too, because did some digging with that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We spent many, many, many hours researching it. And in not one of the sessions of research that we did this area come up.
Not once.
It drops a pin in this one little location. And we said, okay, we know where this is. We're going to go to it. But this is not by any means what we would consider even a haunted location.
Remotely haunted.
Much less
Not
being the most haunted location in Yorktown. Okay, so we go up there anyways, did a little bit of short filming, right, came back and continued with our experimentation with the app. It wasn't until today, okay, that we got a message from a gentleman. And do you remember what that
Yes.
message said?
Yes.
Yeah.
It said that he came for a ghost tour and he was there a little early, so he was walking around like he does. And he was down near that area.
Yes.
Down there near Buckner Street.
Yeah.
And he said right in the area where we were,
Right,
he saw
exactly
these
in that area.
figures, all these figures moving around.
Yes.
And they weren't looking like a human.
Yeah, normal
They
form.
weren't human
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
But they were definitely figures. But when he looked directly at them, they weren't there.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, he goes down the street a little bit, comes back up, and now on the right side of him, these figures are moving around once again.
Yes.
So all these figures moving around in that area. Mm-hmm. My only thing with that, still in reference to the Randonautica app, before wrapping up here,
Right.
would be this, okay? Even with this gentleman's experience there, I still would in no way classify that as the most haunted area in Yorktown.
Right.
I mean, anywhere in Yorktown that this thing dropped a pin would have been haunted and had some activity.
Yes.
But I still wouldn't, based on the reports and people's experiences, I just haven't heard anything other than this report about that place.
Right.
And these other places, I've heard of people looking directly at these things and seeing them. Full-blown apparitions and such right in front of them. Soldiers clashing on the battlefield.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even with his report, I still don't think it was the most haunted. I think it was just haunted,
Yes.
and any place in Yorktown would have been.
Yes.
So the Randonautica app, it is interesting. It really is. And does it have some kind of a supernatural thing to it? Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Perhaps.
I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I just think it generates a random point.
It does. Yes.
And I don't think, people say be careful because people are tapping into your phone and they're going to send killers out there to wait for you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Take a gun.
I'm not worried
Take
about
a gun.
that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
If you try Randonautica. But I want to thank you all for joining us for this edition of the Paranormal Evidence Room. Make sure you join us next week.
Yes.
We're going to be showing some pictures and some videos.
Right.
And talking
Right.
about other possible evidence of paranormal activity. Until next time, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Linda.
And remember, there's much more to see in the dark.